Everyone knows Randall Pearson, but this time around, does Sterling K. Brown get some other big names to play in the sandbox with?
It sort of seems like organized chaos. Are all these backstories going to connect somehow?
Red and Red Real Reviews unravels the conspiracies of future society with Paradise Season 2 on Hulu.
I knew within the first 5 minutes I was going to hate it, but then it was so bad. Ugh.
Nobody wants this? Like,
Literally
you're like,
nobody
hold on,
wants this.
internet's gonna get mad at me for this one. There's no fat elf, you know?
Duty, which I can't say without laughing. Duty, like I'm English.
John B and Sarah are, I mean, I don't want to sound like a loser for saying this, but they're adorable. I'll admit it. Welcome back to Red and Red Real Reviews, and I gotta apologize because I feel like I missed your tee up from the last episode. You were trying to get me to drop my patented "In Randall Pearson We Trust" line.
Oh, I didn't realize you were waiting for that. I didn't even think of that, but I just kept talking about it's we can't just say like Sterling. It's like Sterling K.
Sterling
Brown.
K. Brown,
Sterling K.
yeah,
Brown. Like his full
SKB,
name is yeah, SKB.
yeah. And I always feel like, although now he's getting to the point now where people know his name a lot more, but he will still always be Randall Pearson.
True. That's very
Yeah.
true.
So let us know what you think of our podcast as a whole or potential shows we should be covering. Email us red and red real reviews at gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at red and red real reviews. That is the letter N and real spelled with two E's. So to start us off with the Paradise, that season one, I loved season one. Absolutely thought it was
Mm.
a knockout. It took a minute for to come back to me, particularly with the show. This season two's rather odd editorial choice of showing the recap on the second episode instead of right off the top. So this Paradise City in the bunker is a little left in turmoil. Xavier Collins is en route to find his wife, who he thought died in the climate event. And it turns out he gets some tip that maybe she's still alive. So he used to be a pilot at one point in life, so he finds this plane in the bunker. He takes that off, and we're also kind of left with the reveal that the fellow Secret Service agent Jane is not the most transparent person in the world.
To say the least. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your kind of thoughts picking this up, or as far as like getting the ball back rolling from season one?
I I think it has been maybe a year or a little bit over, but this one it was funny because I didn't have any trouble getting back into it. We've watched a lot of shows where I have a really hard time remembering even anything that happened the season before. But oddly enough, I didn't have trouble remembering. I didn't even have to watch a recap or anything.
Hmm.
I was kind of, and I think the choice to have the recap on their end in the second episode was because of the choice that they made to kind of start off with this additional story that didn't really connect with where they picked up or where they ended last season. So I think they chose to pick it up with this like new view of something. Like this is the backstory of someone else who we're going to meet coming up. So let's just get into that before we get back to building a bridge to where we were before. So I understand that decision they made. And I really enjoyed season one. And it was one of those shows where if people were asking me, "Oh, what's a good show I should be watching?" I'd be like, "Have you heard of Paradise?" And they're like, "No." And I'd be like, "It's on Hulu. Seriously, so good." That was the show for season one that not as many people were watching, and I think they should have been watching. So I
Yeah.
I really think they're gonna up the ante for season two. So that's kind of where my mind was at. I'm like, all right, let's go. Because a lot of times we've seen with shows recently that the second season could make or break the show as a whole. So I'm thinking it's going to make the show for sure.
Yeah, and it also last year it kind of kept the momentum going, or maybe it was. No, I don't think it came out first. It kind of kept the momentum going for Hulu because they had just released Shogun, which was a big hit, and then Paradise came out, and it was an odd marketing tactic because I was being blasted with ads on TikTok for this. I don't know why they chose TikTok as their primary marketing platform. Maybe it's just my algorithm, but it was like every time I opened up TikTok, it was like Paradise ad, Paradise ad. There's Sterling K. Brown's face.
Yeah, and I think we didn't really have. I think most people didn't really have an understanding of what it was about. It was for us, it was literally just, oh, Sterling K. Brown is in it, and he's a good actor, so let's give it a shot. But yeah, I think people had a hard time identifying what it was about, or they thought they knew, and they turned out they did not know what it was about. So yeah, but I think that's the charm of the first season. And then you had, James Marsden, and so that was the draw for the first season. But yeah, I was pretty excited to start off with. It jumped right into it, and I was like, let's go. As they showed the recap, it jogged my memory a little
Yeah,
bit, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot it. Yeah, okay, yeah, I felt pretty good about. I wasn't so lost. Some of these shows I'm literally like, wait, did I watch that? Because I don't remember
yeah.
that at all.
What jogged my memory for quite a bit of things is when I would refer back to the cast on IMDb and stuff
Yep.
like that. And I would see the character's name, like, oh yeah, that's right, that's so and so, and then that would get the train moving again and start to remember a storyline here or there.
Yeah, I could picture the characters in my mind and what happened, but it did take a little bit to be like, okay, yeah, that person's name is Billy, or that person is not like I have to relearn the names of every character for every subsequent season of a show that we watch. So yeah, I did
Yes,
have to relearn the names a little bit, but it's fine. We picked right back up.
yeah. Sinatra was the easy one to remember.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Binge and Ginge, what's your one thing?
So this is sort of an obvious one, but my one thing to watch for are the new characters in this story this season. So obviously, we saw there was a big social media post several months ago with Sterling K. Brown with Shailene Woodley. So it was a big thing. It was publicized. It was highly publicized that Shailene Woodley would be joining this season two cast. Pretty sure it was also announced Thomas Doherty was going to be new as well. And he is from a show that I just watched called Tell Me Lies. He was in the previous season of that show. So that's what I knew him from. And I
Okay,
I
that's probably why
spotted
I
him
know.
with, yeah, well, he also, to his credit, he looks a lot different with facial hair. Anything I've seen him in before, he was like clean cut. So he looks like a totally different person. And I actually saw him with like the facial hair and the beard, and I was like, wait, is that the guy that I think it is? And it took me a second to be like, yeah, I'm right, that is him. Because he
So he
does
was
look
Link.
quite a bit different. Yes.
Okay. I don't know the
Yes,
name.
his
I don't.
character's
I yeah. I didn't recognize his face. I didn't know the name, so it didn't ring any bell to me.
I think the only other stuff he's been in, there was like a Gossip Girl reboot on HBO Max a few years ago, and then there was some other like teeny bopper thing, which I have not seen that, and then he was in some other thing that I have not seen. So Tell Me Lies is really the only thing that I know him from, but I actually think he's a decent actor, and if I'm remembering correctly, I believe he is English. He's British.
Okay.
So yeah, that's just to keep in mind all those British actors doing American accents and all our shows over here.
Yes. It's like what every third podcast at least.
Seriously. Yeah,
Um.
so I don't know. I with the new characters, the first episode really gets into backstory of Annie, who is Shailene Woodley's character. So I really enjoyed that. little ride down the over the river and through the woods for that separate backstory. And then in the other, so we got 3 episodes with this premiere, and there are some other new characters. They're not famous faces, but there's other new characters that make the story intriguing, or I thought that they did. So I won't spoil it for anyone, but yeah, so just all of the new characters as a whole, I would say, is what I would watch this season for.
Yeah, and I don't feel too bad with not knowing Thomas Doherty because I mean none of those shows would have been something that would have been across my plate. Uh,
No.
but at the same time, to your point about his, acting credentials, I mean I would agree. It's funny. It's sadly common when a new actor is introduced to a show and they don't measure up to the rest of the cast who is established. But this show has a tendency to have a lot of very good acting in it and a lot of established actors in it. Or, maybe if you don't know them, you wouldn't know that you don't know them because they have that on-screen presence. And he does kind of fill in very, very well. So it doesn't feel like he's this new cog, this new like square peg in a round hole. He just kind of like fit in pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too because anything I've seen him in was a little bit less serious. Like it obviously Tell Me Lies is a drama, but it's on a different level than a drama like this show. You know what I mean? And then similarly, James Marsden, he is a great comedic actor. So to see him in this last season was kind of a, a little bit off-putting for a second to be like, wait, James Marsden in a drama? What? It was
And,
it was it
and
was
I
out
think
of
he
place
pulled that
for him.
off.
And he definitely pulled it off. So that's what's surprising is in obviously Shailene Woodley has been in a lot of different movies, but it just somehow works, it's just the caliber of the writing and the directing and these actors playing off of Sterling K. Brown and the rest of the cast. Like I think that it just all somehow works out, even though these actors are in places that you wouldn't think they would be in.
Yeah, James Marsden is always Cyclops from X-Men to me. That was the first time I saw him.
Well, he was James Marsden. Everybody needs to, if they enjoy comedy, they need to go and watch Jury Duty on Amazon
Oh yeah,
Prime,
yeah, yeah.
which was like it was like a jury duty situation where there's the lead juror is the only person that's thinks it's real and everyone around him is an actor, which is like crazy. So like James Marsden plays himself, but he's hilarious. You absolutely need to go watch it if you haven't already.
Yeah. I watched a couple episodes because I think it was in one of our categories for award show when
It
it came
was, yep.
out. Yeah, I didn't wind up finishing it, but I did think he was a little looser in that and pretty enjoyable.
Yeah.
Shailene Woodley is an interesting one because like I know the name, but I wouldn't pick her face out, and I think I always confuse her with someone else, a blonde, and I don't know if she's blonde in real life. I don't think I wouldn't guess she is from this character, Annie.
No, she's a brunette, but I'm wondering, I don't think you would know her, but the lead actress in Tell Me Lies, Grace Van Patten,
I know that name.
she gets mistaken for Shailene Woodley a lot. And like seeing them side by side, there are some differences. Like she's a blonde and like a brighter blonde and there's some difference with eyes and noses and stuff like that, but they could be sisters. I mean, if you look at them side by side, but I don't know if you would know Grace Van Patten from anything.
No, I recognize her name though, so I might need to do a little research after the fact to see what jogs my memory because I do kind of recognize that name.
Yeah, I don't know what she's been in before Tell Me Lies, but I mean Shailene Woodley has been in, obviously she was in the Divergent movies, which is like
Mhm.
similar to, Hunger Games.
Yeah,
But she started out in like we mentioned with uh Maya, what's her name?
Mitchell,
from Maya
Maya
Mitchell,
Mitchell.
thank you, from Artful Dodger. Shailene Woodley also started on a ABC Family, Fox Family, whatever the Family Channel.
Oh, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why I know her name.
She started on a show which I didn't watch, but I was aware of it. It was called like The Secret Life of the American Teenager or something, and she played a pregnant high schooler in that show. So that was
Okay.
kind of her claim to fame. Then she, early in her career, she was still a teenager. I think she was in a movie called The Descendants, where I think it was George Clooney played her father. That she kind of got. I don't know if she ended up getting nominated for anything, but she got a lot of like critical love from that
Yeah.
movie, and ever since then she's kind of been a mixed bag of the type of things that she's been involved with, and then she was engaged to Aaron Rodgers, and then I don't know,
Oh,
she's kind of been
that's
all over the
probably
place.
that's probably why I know her name. Football. Anyway, I do want to go into a little bit of a deeper dive on her character, Annie Clay, and I want to get this
Yeah.
kind of awkward elephant in the room out of the way because I
Oh.
understand Sinatra's real name is Samantha, but who the hell
Mm-hmm.
remembers that a year later? Uh, so And I'm watching this, and eventually I realized this wasn't the case. But when it first starts off, I'm wondering because her face is similar enough to what I could see a young Sinatra as. So
Oh.
I thought they were doing this episode as some Sinatra backstory because she looked
Oh.
like a younger Sinatra.
Oh no, I definitely didn't get that at all. I in the first, it must have been the first 5 minutes of the episode, I did notice that the little girl was called Annie, and I definitely
Yeah,
didn't think that Annie was Sinatra's first name. I didn't make that connection at all. I was like, okay, this is Annie. I was like, this must be Shailene Woodley's character. It's just I don't know how that connects to Xavier and everyone else that we know of in the bunker. I wasn't sure of where that connection was, but I knew it wasn't Sinatra. But obviously, I wouldn't have remembered that Samantha was her first name either. I think it was more like when Dr. Tarabi refers to her as Samantha, I was kind of like, oh, yeah, like they were pretty close. They were good friends. Like Dr. Tarabi was her therapist or whatever it was. So it jogged my memory a bit, but I would not have been able to pull that fact out of thin air that Samantha Sinatra was her name. Like,
yeah.
no.
Tarabi's another character I like, but I can't really trust her because I don't know what side of the fence she's fighting on.
Yeah, I want to believe that she's a nice lady, but I am a little bit skeptical too. I'm kind of like, she kind of makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up, where I'm kind of like, are you sure? I don't know if you are who you say you are.
That made me think of that scene from The Hangover where where Sue says, it's like, oh, I married a hooker, and Alec goes, she's a nice lady. So as this turns out, this Annie Clay is a completely separate story arc, but it does cross over a bit with our
Mm,
established characters. She's this lone wolf of sorts. She's a little bit of an awkward duckling growing up. She was caring for her mother,
mm,
was seemingly sick and passed away while she was pretty young. Uh, and by the time this one episode that is kind of centered on Collins,
mm.
Annie does an about face from the beginning in her relationship with Link, and towards the end of it, does a complete 180 to where this story is going to go from where the season's going to go from here. So
Right.
this is kind of very intriguing for this story arc that's kind of feels like it was a little out of left field, how it's kind of integrating with our established storylines and characters.
Yeah, I think it's just I'll talk about it a little bit too when we get to the verdict, but um I think the name of the game this season will be telling the story via flashbacks and
Yeah.
establishing those connections. So they were just like okay, we're going to give you a first episode that's this whole other story, but let us cook, let us cook, trust us.
Yeah.
We're going to establish this connection coming up. So just keep watching, just keep waiting out for it. Like we're going to establish in for lack of a better word, link up these connections as we go on. So yeah, I think that's kind of the creator's specialty because he is the same guy who created and wrote This Is Us. So
Uh, uh,
flashbacks, like they're very familiar with going back and forth between timelines.
yeah. I was gonna say another a show it is Rolodex, that's not the right word, but we'll go with it. Um of where he can keep drawing back to previous season and not have it feel weird, not have it feel disconnected, and you
Mm.
still kind of see where it moves the story along.
Yeah, yeah. And especially with obviously Sterling K. Brown was on This Is Us. So
Yeah.
he's like a tool of the creator where you do see a lot of flashbacks having to explain Xavier's life and how things formed and how things started too. So you do get to see flashbacks with everybody, and then they do flashback to characters that are dead and gone. So you at
Yeah.
least you get to see James Marsden, you get to
Again.
see the actor who
Yeah.
plays Billy again a little bit, but yeah, the flashbacks are there to explain further with things and explain why things are the way they are now.
And I love that you get to see a softer side of Xavier Collins because,
Mm.
when they show the flashbacks of how he met his wife Terry, there's one fun I was dying when he said it because
Yeah, yeah.
I could see it coming the whole time when she's like giving him every reason why they should be together. He walks away and all he hears is hot guy.
Yeah, I kind of I did see a little bit of Randall Pearson in
Yeah.
Xavier, just with the way that he like is so smooth. Like
Hmm.
he tries to be like the anchor and the one that's there for you, but at the end of the day, he's like, oh yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
smooth.
Well, sliding in a smooth way off to the verdict. What do we got here? Should people watch season 2 of Paradise?
Oh yeah, definitely yes.
Hmm.
No hesitation. Absolutely. I even though there's a lot going on in the first three episodes, I think it's organized chaos where it will come together. We're
Yeah.
not going to be sitting here for seasons and seasons like Lost, where we're like, why the hell do we have these polar bears and who is this person? Like I don't think it's going
Lost.
to be like that where we're just dangling and there's all these loose ends. Like we're not going to sit with loose ends for very long. Like this guy Dan Fogelman, he's the creator, and I say we got to let him cook. I think this season has the potential to be just as good as season 1.
That's funny. I actually don't think we'll ever see another scenario like Lost because the the condensed timelines of shows in this modern era being 8, 10, at most 50,
Right.
at most 12 episodes in that range. We're never going to see the era again where seasons were 24, 25 episodes.
Yeah, and you know what? I wonder if Lost did have that many episodes or if it was more like 15 or 20. It might have been like a little bit less than the standard like 24 or 26 or whatever it was, but yeah, they definitely had more than like 8 to 10 episodes. So
Yeah.
that's a good point. I wonder if like I think those days are kind of over based on how streaming and how TV is done now.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't doubt that's partly budget related because you probably have stricter budgets you've got to work with for something that's supported primarily by subscription dollars.
That's true.
Now, I mean, I'm in on this too, and I mean, I do enjoy this show, and even with the 3 episode drop being like it was,
Mm.
where you think, okay, we're gonna get 3 right off the top. This is gonna be a lot of meat to sink into. really move this along. There's only 8 episodes in this season, as there
Oh.
was in season one. So we're really getting almost half the season right off the bat. And I wasn't expecting them to, I figured it'd be one track and be focused, but they really did 3 tracks. They did this new story arc with Annie. They, focused on Collins. They focused on Sinatra. So it
Hmm.
was really 3 separate tracks going on.
Yep.
And, you said organized chaos. And I also kind of wrote chaotic in my notes as well. And I don't know whether it's fair to say the writing is chaotic, but it's a show that you cannot multitask during. Like you must pay attention because even just through the 3 episodes, there's names, there's details that are brought up early on, whether in an episode or early on of the three, and it gets and they come back around to it later on. You're like, oh, that's who they're talking about before. Okay, I think that's what they meant when they said this. So it's like these little kind of nuggets I don't want to say nuggets or Easter eggs, but like little itty bitty minutia that you kind of could ignore because it doesn't sound important, and then they bring up something or mention it again 2 episodes later.
Yeah, and to kind of paraphrase what one of the characters is saying to Annie, it's a friend of Annie's joking around saying, "Well, I'm the
Yes.
hot one. Annie, you're supposed to be the smart one." And I just have to laugh because like what you were saying where you can't look away because you'll miss something, these characters are all so smart that's why you have to watch every second. You can't look away and you can't multitask because they all have agendas. They all are figuring out what they're doing. They all have uh a playbook they're following. So that's why you can't multitask. Like all these characters are written way too smart.
Yeah. And it's not all positive, ladies and gentlemen, because quite frankly, screw Jane. She could go away.
Uh, oh my God. You know what? I'm starting to feel like Jane is a Joffrey for me.
Yeah, she's getting up to that level pretty quickly.
I have a feeling that we're gonna hate her even more as the season goes on, but I want to give people a silver lining that may be a reason to watch is I know for me, watching Game of Thrones, I was just waiting for that moment when Joffrey kept doing all those things that were making me so upset and angry. I
His
was like, I
comeuppance.
am I am waiting for this moment when he goes away, dies, or when us, the audience, gets
Mhm.
justice. And that's what I'm waiting for here. So that's another reason for you guys to watch is to finally get justice against Jane because she's the bane of my existence so far. And we're just getting started.
Oh yeah, no, I can't stand her either. Well, if you think that we do shows and our reviews justice, please give us a 5-star review. We'd very much appreciate that on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And also hit follow or subscribe, whether you're viewing us on video or listening to us on the go, because we are at mercy to the show's release schedules. So that's the best way to keep in touch when we drop an episode. Next up, this is kind of a little bit of a double drop for us because a show debuts on the night of an awards presentation. So we've got another awards show live watch party. This one's the SAGs. I guess technically they're the Actors Awards, but I can't
Mer.
acknowledge that. They're always going to be the SAGs. And this will get us prepped for Oscar night in a good way. And after that, the first coin has dropped post Yellowstone. This will be a special midweek review, just like you got for Paradise. And this is where we see Casey headed next on Yellowstone Marshals, a new Taylor Sheridan show, this time on CBS. So, 2 reasons to be excited coming up.
Oh, yeah. Keep them coming.
So, until the next real review, Red and Red are signing out.